Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC Vegas 43, Vieira versus Tate. I'll be honest with you. We probably had the worst week we ever had last week, and we're not the only ones. We got absolutely crushed. None of the locks hit, none of the totals hit. We had one dog and Kalen Williams come through because he created pure chaos, and I was 1-1 going into the third. So if he didn't get that knockout, we literally would have missed on every single pick. It's just not your week. You have those week in sports betting. Shit happens. You get over it. But the last time we had a week that bad, we came back and absolutely murdered the next card. So we're looking to do the same here. So I'm not even I cannot wait for this week. I'm looking to put last week behind us and just go ahead. And we're definitely positive this year. So to just keep it moving. There is a big break coming. So we want to take advantage of all four of these last four fight cards of the year. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into it. It's actually a sneaky good card. It's not a lot of big names per se, but a lot of interesting talent. And in all honesty, there's a lot of 50-50 fights on here. And a lot of it comes down to two things: cardio and wrestling. So in all honesty, this should be UFC Vegas 43. Put on your damn singlet. This is not sink or swim, it's singlet or swim. So for instance, we're going to start this very first fight of the night. It already takes into effect. We have Luana Pinheiro going up against Sam Hughes. Luana is a huge favorite here. She's like over minus 400 currently, plus 310 to come back on Sam Hughes. We'll start with the favorite, the massive favorite here, Luana, and figure out why she's such a big favorite. Because she's pretty decent, man, in all honesty. She has decent wrestling. She's a judo background, so she's pretty decent there. She is a prospect that the UFC definitely wants to push for obvious reasons. She has okay jiu-jitsu. It's actually pretty slick on the ground. She has phenomenal striking. She, like, when you think of women's fights at like flyweight, bantamweight, strawweight, you don't think of people that are coming out here and getting finishes, and that's all she does. I mean, look at her record. Ronda Marcos, we all know about the controversy, and everyone wants to say she faked the up kick. I just don't know if that's true, because it's one thing if she was getting absolutely murked, got up kicked, and said, you know what, I'm done with this fight. I'm just going to take the cheap win. But she was dominating Ronda. I had money on Ronda. So it was kind of tough to watch, but I can admit that she was kind of killing Ronda. But we don't know what her cardio is like. That's the concern. We know she has phenomenal power, great striking, great judo. She's very hard to take down, good jiu-jitsu, even if you get her down there. She's one of these people that eat, sleep, and breathe MMA. I mean, she's currently dating UFC flyweight contender Mateus Nicolau. She's a ton of high volume. There's literally nothing wrong with this girl. The only thing wrong with her is her cardio, and that's a question mark. We don't know if it's gotten better, but you look at her record. It's round one finish, 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 round one finish. She has one loss on her record, her third fight ever fighting, and it was a split decision loss. So one person made it out of the first round, and that was her only loss. So everyone's going to automatically say she has bad cardio. We don't know. We honestly don't know, because he doesn't make it out the first round. So then you look at her opponent and you go, well, is the person she's fighting right now going to be able to take her into deep waters and Sam Page Hughes? And honestly, the answer is no, probably not. Sam Hughes is not the worst fighter in the world. She has okay wrestling, but it's a lot more pressure than actual technique. She just kind of bum rushes you and grabs a leg and just prays that she can get you down. Her striking, not exactly the greatest on earth either. Again, she does go forward a lot, which is really good. But Pinheiro is fine backing up. She's a good striker, man. And Hughes is very, very hittable. She gets hit a lot more than she dishes out. And she has good cardio, though. Her cardio does check out. She took the third round against Loma Lukbame, which is good. Tisha Torres finished her. She kind of quit, and that's a little concerning, because Tisha Torres is known for only getting decisions. So if Tisha finishes you, you're in some serious shit going up against Pinheiro, who only gets finishes. She has a decent ground game. She has a lot of submission wins on hers, a few arm bars, a few guillotines. But in retrospect, I just don't think she has the goods to make it out the first round. If you get stopped by Tisha Torres round one and couldn't take anymore, I don't know what you're gonna do here. She definitely has the cardio advantage. I'll give her that, but outside of that, she's outgunned everywhere, and it's only a 3-round fight. So it doesn't matter if Luana doesn't have 15-minute cardio. If she has 10-minute cardio, she's perfectly fine. So I understand why she's such a big favorite. And I agree with the line here. The pick is definitely Luana, and minus 400 is too much. It is a women's fight, so you can try to see if you can get a little more juice doing Luana inside the distance, because that's if she's going to win, that's how she's going to win. So I just try to beef it up a little and give Luana inside the distance. I am a little bit scared of putting Luana in all my parlays, even though she's the better fighter. That gas tank, we know Hughes has one and she does not, but I think she has enough of a gas tank. It's not a heavyweight fight here. This is a women's strawweight fight, so I think she's perfectly fine. So the pick is Luana. The bet is going to be Luana inside the distance, or if you want to put her in parlays to anchor it, it's risky, but you can. All right, and then the next fight of the night is another risky fight, man. We have Sean Toriano at minus 285, which is the scariest statement I've ever heard, going up against, Lord help me, Shalian Nerdenbicki. Shalian Nerdenbicki. He goes by the Wolverine, and that's what we're going to call him right now. We have Soriano at minus 285, the Wolverine at plus 215, over 2.5 at minus 130, under 2.5 even money. And let me tell you why that's interesting and why I'm petrified of Sean Soriano. Sean Soriano might, in all honesty, featherweight's pretty stacked. He might have like top 3 to top 5, not top 3. He might have like top 5 best stand up in the featherweight division. If it's a pure striker for striker, he might be top 5, in all honesty. But here's the problem with Sean Soriano. He has 7 career losses. He's 14-7. Let's take a little gander at his losses. Christos Giago, he took it on short notice, but he got choked out. And it was at lightweight. He took it really short notice, but he did get choked out. Bruce Boyington, this is not a UFC fight. This is on the regional scene. Was able to get him to the ground, and he choked him out. Levin Maxvili, this was not the UFC. This was on the regional scene. Was able to get him to the ground and choke him out. Thomas Webb, this is not the UFC. This is the regional scene. Was able to get him to the ground, and he's like, you know what? I want to switch it up. I don't want to tap him out. Let me just get some ground and pound. But he did not get up. He got finished on the ground. Charles Rosa is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, sick on the ground, taps out and finishes absolutely nobody. You know who he did finish? Sean Toriano got him to the ground and choked him out. Chas Skelly, we haven't seen him in a while. He's pretty good. And he got a decision, which is disappointing because before Chas Skelly, they gave Sean Toriano Tatsui Kawajiri, who got him to the ground and choked him out. So Sean Toriano has 7 career losses. 6 are because he got taken to the ground and finished. There's a glaring weak spot. Again, I am not kidding about this kid's stand-up. He hits hard. He's real crisp. He can go backwards. He can backpedal. He can go forward. He is a problem on the feet. Michael Chandler was, everyone at Sanford said he's the best striker there. This dude is an animal on the feet. But if you get this dude to the ground, and career-wise in the UFC, he's had 4 fights, 50% takedown defense. So you have a 50-50 shot of getting him to the ground. And once he's to the ground, he's dead in the rights. But he is in Sanford, so clearly he has good people to work with and try to get better at that, with training with Gilbert Burns, who is just giving him all the praise currently, training with Michael Chandler. He's good. I like Soriano. It's just if he touches the ground, he's in some serious trouble. And in all honesty, I would say the Wolverine is not very good. He has a ton of power, but doesn't really know how to use it. He's not a good striker by any means. His cardio kind of checks out. He does continually go forward. Again, Toriano can fight off his back foot, but he's going to be forced to against Wolverine because all he does is march forward. because he can't strike. And the reason he marches forward is to take you down. This dude is nonstop pressure. And he does not have great wrestling, but he has nonstop pressure. This dude is in your face and going forward. And eventually he'll wear you down to the point where he will get the takedown and he'll try to finish you. And the first thought I had was he have any submissions on his record? Because that's the way that he's going to get the job done. And his last win was by rear naked choke. He has another win by rear naked choke. He has a win by ground and pound. He has wins by decision, by grinding you out, or by taking you down and finishing you. That's how he finishes you. And that's how Toriano loses every fight. However, the Wolverine has been knocked out on multiple occasions, and he even got knocked out by Zhu Rong when Zhu Rong was 19 years old. And Zhu Rong is not terrible. He has some decent power, but I mean, a 19-year-old kid knocking you out in 2 minutes, and I watched the fight, it did not look good. That's not a good look. I guarantee you Sean Toriano hits harder. I guarantee you Sean Toriano is the better striker. So I did take a shot on the Wolverine because the odds of him at 220 plus 215 plus 220 too high. He has a clear path to win, and he knows what he has to do, and it's what he wants to do anyway. I do have money on him. What I would invest in is the under here. If Sean Toriano is going to win this fight, he's going to knock him out. It's probably going to be early. If the Wolverine wins, he's going to take him down, and he's going to choke him out, and it's probably going to be before the end of the third round. It's probably going to be inside the distance. So if you can get even money at the under 2.5, both parties can finish it, and both parties can finish it the way they prefer to fight. Whoever imposes their will is probably going to get the finish, and I like that. So give me the under all day. I have 2 bets on this fight. One on the dog, as the value is just too much to pass up. One on the under, which I like, covers you both sides. Love the under here. All right, then the next fight. The craziness is I have about half these fights have dog picks on them. And this is another one, man. We have Cody Durden, minus 150. Iori, God, who knows what his real name is? Some of them call him Richie Lang. Some of them say Iori Keelang. I don't know what his real name is. I'm just going to go with Iori because that's what's listed on Tapology. And they have it backwards because, with the Oriental fighter, sometimes it's the first name goes last. It's a mess. I will just say Iori Keelang and leave it at that. I'll just say Iori. But he is at plus 120, and the money's coming in on Cody Durden. I've seen Iori as high as plus 30 or plus 130. Over under is set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 202. Under 2.5 plus 162. If I'm going to talk about Iori, let's just go ahead and talk about him in full. This dude is good. In all honesty, he has an 18-8 record. He does everything well. He has pretty good wrestling. Forward pressure like a motherfucker, just like his Oriental comrade from the previous fight. This dude marches forward. He has high volume. He is a little hittable. I don't like that. He's another one that gets hit more than he dishes out, but he makes his count, man. He has good wrestling. Jiu-jitsu is a little questionable as well, but his cardio is good, and that's a good thing to have. And he's super durable, which is another really, really good quality to have here. I mean, he got choked out in a minute there. That doesn't look the best. But, lost by decision, and he got choked out here. So, again, if he's going to lose, you're not knocking this guy out. You're either winning a decision or you're choking him out. So, he gave Jeff Molina all he could do, all Jeff Molina could handle, in all honesty. Jeff Molina is a good fighter, and he went toe-to-toe with him. He took some rounds off him. He definitely won the first round. The second round was a little 50-50, but Molina had 2 knockdowns, so I did give it to Molina. The third round, Molina kind of pieced him up a little, but he gave him everything he could. It's one of these guys that had a fight and looked good in a loss. Now, you think about people like Rafa Garcia later on the card. Sometimes they don't look as good the second fight. You always expect them to, and they don't always look good. So there is a little buyer's beware. However, this guy is huge for the weight class. He used to fight at 145. He dropped down to 135. Now he dropped down to 125. He has a little bit of a Jared Cannonier thing going on here. But he's big for the weight class. He hits hard. He's super durable. I like the guy a lot. I like everything about him. I also bookmarked where Cody Durden fought Jimmy Flick. And I went back and I watched this film and I said, you know what? This Cody Durden kid's pretty good. Then I watched him fight Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez is no joke. He took the fight on short notice, up a weight class, went to a draw. Probably shouldn't have been a draw in all honesty, but hey, it is what it is. He did what he had to get the draw. His next fight, he gets caught in a flying triangle. Now, caught is an operative word, considering in my opinion, he had time to kind of get out of it. Like he caught a head kick. Jimmy Flick locked up a triangle, but it wasn't tight, and he didn't recognize that it was still coming. That was a little concerning. Otherwise, against jiu-jitsu is pretty solid. He has great wrestling. His striking is ever improving. He looks so much better on the feet every single fight. I like Durden a lot, and I bookmarked bet him his next fight. Problem is, I did the same exact thing for Iori. I looked to bet him in his next fight, and they are fighting each other. So you do have to pick a side here. I talked about how big Iori is. A lot of a lot of Cody Durden's fights were at bantamweight. He talked to the UFC PI and was able to drop down to 125, and he's massive as well. These guys are so similar. The only thing that separates them, I'll say on the feet, it's pretty much a tie. When it comes to wrestling, it's pretty much a tie. When it comes to the ground game, maybe a slight edge to Durden, but it's not like he's a jiu-jitsu whiz on the ground. He's good, but he's not like anything to write home about. But the thing that really separates them to me is the cardio. And it did look like something I already had at 125. And it's something that Durden, we're yet to see the greatest of cardio. So for that reason, if everything's a toss-up, it's 50-50 and one has better cardio, I will take the cardio guy, especially at plus money. So here's yet another dog. I'm going to go ahead and pick Iori, and I will have a bet on Iori as well. But overall, this is going to be a phenomenal fight. All right. And then the next fight we have, phenomenal fights. We have Terrence McKinney at minus 110, Faraz Ziem at minus 120. Over under set at 1.5, over 1.5 minus 135, under 1.5 plus 105. And let me tell you something. It's set at 1.5 because of Terrence motherfucking McKinney. Terrence McKinney is insane. This dude's striking is okay. It's not the greatest, but he hits like a truck. He had some power. His wrestling, very underrated. Don't sleep on his wrestling. This dude is a great wrestler. We don't know about his cardio too much. I know that we've seen him in the second round and he didn't look the best. But how many times have we seen that in his career? Let's see. This dude has had 14 career fights. The amount of fights that went out of the first round are 1. And that's the thing. This dude is 11-3. So that means not only is he winning in the first round, he's also losing in the first round. He lost to Derek Minner via submission in the first round after a nice takedown. He got one was via stoppage. So, I mean, it was a doctor stoppage. He got hurt, hurt his leg. And then his other loss was Sean Woodson. That was in round 2. However, he dominated Sean Woodson first round. Came out in round 2 real sluggish and got hit with one of those bony ass knees. So understandable, but I love the guy. And I love the fact that Michael Chiesa, who's the co-main event, was his wrestling coach. I got that from the Dog or Pass podcast. Shout out to Corey. Shout out to Cody Safdie and Paul Shaughnessy over there doing their thing. But no, I love that because Chiesa's on the card. I am certain they did this on purpose. So I really like that aspect of it. You're going to go out and want to impress your coach. And that's enough about McKinney. He's a great guy. He's explosive. He's going to win and knock you out in seconds. Even get some chokes in the first round as well, because his wrestling is good. If he wants it on the ground, he can put you on the ground. And that's the thing with Ziem. He's not the greatest wrestler in the world. He's gotten taken down in every single one of his fights. This dude is a phenomenal striker, but he's not putting full power into everything, which makes him a better striker in all honesty. He's a great striker, but this is technique versus power. And this is wrestling versus someone who struggles in that aspect. I mean, he got taken down. One of his losses were to Don Madge because of the takedowns. So, I mean, that is a little concerning. And you look at his other loss, he's got tapped out twice. So he has questionable jiu-jitsu. And you're not just getting rear naked choke from your feet. He must have gotten taken down and choked out. So that is a little concerning that all of his losses are contingent on a takedown. Going against a phenomenal wrestler. He also, in his last fight, fought Luigi Vendramini. He dominated. I had a bet on Luigi, and Ziam did impress me. I'll give it to him. He's a phenomenal striker. He is so technical, a lot more technical than I even realized. I thought he was just beating scrubs, but this dude has some serious technique. The problem is he got clipped in the third round. And, that's not the first time I've seen him in the third round and later on start to slow just a touch. So his cardio is a little questionable as well. Not as much as McKinney's. McKinney's gassed in the second. But Faraz, Ziam did kind of slow down in the third. And he looked a little chinny from that. He's been cracked multiple times. He's never been knocked out, but I've seen him wobbled in multiple fights. And if McKinney cracks you, you're not wobbling, you're going out. So for that reason, the pick is going to be McKinney. I'll also probably end up betting McKinney, but this is a 50-50 fight. The odds are basically a pick 'em. So I'm not throwing him in too many parlays. I would just bet him McKinney straight up, or with the odds being so close, you can do McKinney inside the distance and try to get some plus money because there's no way he wins a decision. He might, if he just wrestles and holds him the whole time, but I don't foresee that. He's never gone to a decision, so I don't want to, advise that you bet that. I would just bet McKinney and call it a day. All right. Then the next fight we have, McKinney is technically a dog. Luma Lukimi at plus 130 is a dog. Going up against Lupita Godinez at minus 165. Over 2.5 is minus 327. Under 2.5 plus 257. God, this is the one that I've gone back and forth with all week. I've seen a clear path for Luma. I've seen a clear path for Lupita. God, I don't know what to do with this fight. Let's start with Luma. She is a phenomenal striker. She's very stout and strong. Her wrestling was a weak spot, but she continually addresses it and is continually getting better with it. She is a little pillow fisted. She doesn't have any knockouts, and you can back her up a little bit. But let me tell you why. Because she's not a women's strawweight. This woman is tiny. She used to fight at atomweight. So you see her trying to bulk up a little bit, but that's definitely not her weight class. If they had a 105 in the UFC, she would probably be the atomweight champion of the world. She's that good. She's a phenomenal fighter. They just don't have her weight class available. So she has a Frankie Edgar effect where she's forced to fight a weight class up. And she does well there. She's 6-2. Her loss, she trains at Tiger Muay Thai. She's a phenomenal striker. Her only loss is to Angela Hill. Not a bad loss to have. And then she got armbarred in her third career fight. She was still learning the takedowns and learning everything about jiu-jitsu. Like, she was learning. It's not her fault. But you see her improving quickly. Even her last fight against Sam Hughes, who we had discussed earlier, she got 4 takedowns against Sam Hughes. So, a striker she has this nice inside trip. She's learning, and I like that a lot. And I like Luma a lot. I just would pick her every single fight when it came to an atomweight fight, and this is at strawweight. So I go, well, she can only beat someone. Eventually, someone big enough is going to be able to kind of control her the way they need to. And that kind of is Loopy. Loopy is strong, man. She's not huge for the weight class. She's only 5'1", but she is a beast, man. You look at her takedown. She is just throwing people. Ask Jessica Panay. She just throws you across the room. But that's the thing. Not a lot of technique. It's just sheer power. So everyone talks about her last fight going up against Luana Carolina. Yeah, she moved up a weight class, took it on under a week's notice, trying to get the win. Dominated the first round, took her down, and just dominated on the ground, but then couldn't take her down again. And here's the problem. Luana probably weighed close to like 145 pounds come fight time. Loopy did not. Loopy weighed in at 121. She probably only weighed like $124. She was probably still under the weight class limit. come fight time. So, I mean, it's not really her fault. She tried to be a little Donald Cerrone, and she's doing it again here. She's taking the fight on short notice, so it does concern me a touch. But she's a generalist. She's good. She's good striking. She has good wrestling, not a lot of technique. She does muscle a ton of stuff. But she's not the worst wrestler in the world. She's okay. She is a little hittable. I'll give her that. And her submissions are good. I mean, we saw her just tap out Silvana Gomez Flores like literally less than a month ago. So she's good. I like her. Slow volume, but she has a ton of power. I think she's very, very promising. My concern is to beat Luma. Luma is the better striker. If you're going to beat Luma, you're going to bully her and you're going to take her down. I don't like trusting people that have wrestling in their back pocket, but that's not their primary focus. That's not what brought them to the dance. Because when you depend on a striker who can get takedowns to wrestle to get a win, it never works out. I've fallen for this 1,000,001 times. Fool me once, shame on you, but this thing can fool me twice, can't get fooled again. I refuse to keep doing this. Although I think Loopy is the better overall, all-around fighter, she is larger than Luma. But she did a lot of body lock takedowns. And that's the thing. There's different variations of takedowns. Body locks, if you're a shorter person, it's easy to attack their legs. If you're kind of like the bigger person, you want to get a body lock, you want to jack them up, get them off their feet, and kind of take them down. Loopy will be the taller and bigger fighter. She prefers body locks, and that's probably best to take Luma down. I came on the podcast ready to bet Luma. I flip-flop over and over again. I think I just flipped back to Loopy, thinking about the style of wrestling she does. I think I just flipped on the spot. So pick will be Loopy. The bet, stay the fuck away. I don't know. Luma is the value side. I would probably end up picking Loopy and betting Luma. But in all honesty, this is one you just sit back and enjoy. They're both phenomenal fighters. I hate that they're fighting each other because they're both so young and so good. But pick is Loopy, bet it would have to be Luma just because it's plus money on a 50-50 fight. All right. Then the next fight of the night, I don't know, I might flip-flop on. We have Natan Levy going up against Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia minus 125, Levy minus 105. We have over 2.5 at minus 190, under 2.5 at plus 150. Man, these two fights, they're phenomenal fights, but I just can't bet them because I don't know what's going to happen. Rafa is good striking. He is okay wrestling. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he hardly uses it. He is a little hittable, and he does slow down a little. The only problem being he slows down just a touch, but he's gassed both his UFC fights. But there are circumstances behind those. You have to watch the fights. I mean, the very first fight he took on short notice, not his fault, going up against Nazareth Hackcross, who's a top 15 guy. So he fought a top 15 guy on short notice. Yeah, you're going to get a little tired rolling off the couch fighting a guy of that caliber. Then his next fight, he fought Chris Gutzmacher, who he was supposed to just absolutely murder. And he did for the first 3 minutes. But the problem is, after he kept rocking Chris didn't go away. And it's a poor term, but it is the fighting term. Rafa blew his load and literally had nothing left to give. He just fought. He thought he had him finished and he went for the kill. And Chris didn't die. He just stood there and he took it. And then he started fighting back. And Rafa was too gassed to fight back himself. And he ended up losing that decision. Those are weird circumstances. Anyone is going to gas with any one of those, but that is a little bit of a ring IQ thing also, to continually go after Chris when you know he's notorious for being a little durable. Rafa's 27, so he's not old, but he's not young. He should kind of know better by now, but I don't know. He's good, man. He has no weaknesses. This dude's super good. But in retrospect, so is the guy he's fighting, man. I would say the worst part about Levy is just his strength of schedule, but that's not really his fault. The dude's 6-0. He hasn't fought in 2 years, so that's a little concerning. He last fought in Dana White Contender Series. Dude's 30 years old. And he took that fight on short notice and looked phenomenal. He came out, got a submission over someone who was technically like the same, if not higher caliber, jiu-jitsu practitioner. This dude is good wrestling and good subs. That's his game, and he knows his game. He's not the greatest striker, but he's jacked and he hits hard. And he has good cardio. And that's what concerns me about Hoffa. I don't know how good his cardio is because looking at the two UFC fights, they're weird circumstances. When you watch him in combate, he looks fine. So, like, what's going on here? I don't know which one is true and which one is not. I told myself I prefer not to bet people, or most of the film is in combate. And I also tell people that I like to fade Dana White Contender Series, their first fight. This is both circumstances. So I don't want to pick a side. I just want to sit back and enjoy this fight as well. I guess if I absolutely had to make a pick, I'd pick Hoffa. Just I'll take Garcia just because he's fought the higher caliber of opponent. He's fought 4 people that have been in the UFC. Natan has fought nobodies. I mean, literally, he beat a guy that was 6-0 in Contender Series. That's cool. 5-3, 1-0, 3-3, 2-1, 0-0. These aren't the highest caliber guys in the world. So the pick will be Hoffa, and the bet would be just honestly maybe I was gonna say the over, but I don't even trust that. The pick would be Hoffa, and the bet would just be Hoffa as well. And then that takes us to someone that I had a lot of like hope for, and I'm kind of turning on him a little bit. We have Pat Sabatini at -145 going up against Tucker Lutz at +115. Over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 -167, under 2.5 +137. Let's start with Pat, man. Pat is a phenomenal jiu-jitsu practitioner. This dude is solid on the mat. You do not go to the mat with Pat Sabatini and live to talk about it. And he has pretty good wrestling to get you down there. It does kind of depend on who he's wrestling. He's not the greatest wrestler. I know he wrestled D1. He has it in his back pocket. He can do it. But when he fights another wrestler, it just doesn't look as smooth and as easy. His striking, he hits hard, but his chin is a little questionable. He can dish it out. He can't necessarily take it back. It's not terrible, but it's a little questionable. And I was so high on Pat Sabatini. But his very first fight, he was very tentative against Tristan Connolly. And just the way he fought was a little questionable. And then his next fight, he ended up losing to, the Patriots just got a pick 6. His next fight, he ended up tapping out Jamal Emmers. And the Jamal Emmers fight was just solely based on Jamal Emmers being stupid. Because it wasn't a pick 6. So in all honesty, Jamal Emmers whooped his ass on the feet, followed him down to the ground, and got tapped out. He played footsies with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. That's all. That was Jamal Emmers' fight to lose, and he found a way to lose, and Pat found a way to win, which I totally respect that. But they run that back 10 times. I don't know how many times Pat wins. He's just not looked the greatest in the UFC. He looks like a champ against these, in the CFFC, but he can't. And that's a good regional scene. I love people coming from CFFC. However, when he made it to the big leagues, he is looking a little shaky. So if someone is able to have good grappling and or good wrestling, he does concern me if Pat is forced to stand. And Tucker Lutz kind of does. Tucker Lutz is good striking. He really impressed me against Kevin Aguilar his last fight with his striking. He is known as being a little underwhelming, having to go to Dana White Contender Series twice, even though he won both fights. He had to go there multiple times because he just kind of cruised in decisions. And he did both times. But before Contender Series, man, I mean, he had some wins. He had a KO finish, knockout finish, ref stoppage, KO finish, guillotine. He was not just a decision master to start. It's just how it ended up when he got to the higher up. Once he made it to the big leagues, it's been all decisions since Dana White Contender Series and this fight in the UFC. So the competition's getting tougher, and he's not dominating as much, but the kid's still good. He has good takedown defense. It's 80%. He has high volume, something Pat does not have. Pat is very low volume. He has good wrestling, good enough. In all honesty, I think it's 50-50. It's probably a tie with their wrestling, so Pat can't just take him down at will and dominate. He has good striking, something that Pat doesn't. Tucker does slow a little in the third round, but so does Pat. So these guys are literally the same guy, only I would say wrestling is tied, striking definitively to Tucker, and when it comes to the ground game, definitively to Pat. So it's a matter of who wins the wrestling. Again, another instance of the better wrestler is going to win the fight, just like the Luana fight. This just like the Loopy fight, is her wrestling good enough? There's so many fights this card where wrestling is gonna decipher who wins. Terrence McKinney to an extent, the Cody Durden fight, and honestly, every single fight so far, the better. If you can take your opponent down, you're going to win. And this is no different. And I don't know if Pat takes him down. If he gets him down, I don't know if he holds him down long enough. So the pick is going to be Tucker. And at plus money, the bet is going to be Tucker as well. Then that takes us to one of the lock of the nights, baby. We got a little too much hype. This takes us to the main card. So I do want to remind you, make sure you give the video a like. Make sure you look for the official picks over on Twitter, over on Instagram, even over on TikTok. We are making moves here, so make sure you give everything a like, support the podcast. But we're going to start with these locks, baby. And the first one is Adrian Yanez coming in at minus 285. Come back on Davy Grant plus 215. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 115. Under 2.5 minus 145, and they expect this thing to end early. And let me tell you why. It is Mini Jorge Adrian Yanez. I forgot, he just changed his nickname. I forgot what it is now. But this dude is phenomenal, man. He is a great striker. He has a ton of power. I mean, even this UFC fights, finish, contender series finish. Every fight is a finish so far in the UFC and contender series. He had a decision win here in LFA, but outside of that, finish. A split decision to Miles Johnson. Miles Johnson's a good fighter, man. That's not the worst. And Miles Johnson's a phenomenal wrestler, and that showed me what I needed to see. How is Adrian Yanez's ground or his wrestling? Because little do people know, this dude is good on the ground. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. He's fine on the ground, but he never wants to do that because he packs so much power at 135. Yes, it's so much easier to just knock people out. So that's what he does. He has high volume, 100% takedown defense in the UFC currently. And again, he fought Miles Johns and he did get taken down once or twice and popped right back up. So he's not playing around down there, even though he's fine down there. I mean, he doesn't move his head as much as I would like him to, but I'm fishing for the negatives about him. He backed up a little bit, but he generally goes forward. And I guess he is a little bit of a slow starter. That he kind of has like a Cheeto Vera thing going on, where a Peter Yan, where he isn't getting killed the first round, but he's doing more analyzing, and then he comes in and dominates you. So yeah, I love Adrian Yanez. I think this dude is the definition of a prospect. He's the real deal. And don't get me wrong, I do like his opponent, Davy Grant. He has good striking, sneaky good wrestling. Ground game, a little bit of a work in progress, but he's old, man. That's the problem too. Davy Grant's like 35, 36 years old. He's had a litany of injuries here. He's 11-5. Yeah, he's 35 years old. I like the guy. I just don't know if this is a good matchup. Basically, he fought Marlon Vera, gave Marlon Vera a good first round, and then lost the next two. It's kind of the same thing as Adrian Yanez. Yanez and Vera, not a lot of difference. They're basically the same fighter. So he has the same fight twice, and he didn't win the last one. Jonathan Martinez is a better striker and was kind of piecing up Davy Grant. The Davy Grant knocked him out in the second, but he lost the first definitively. Martin Day, 0-4 in the promotion, kind of beat him on the feet. And then Martin Day knocked him out in the dirt. Like, he's not going to knock out Adrian Yanez. Yanez is durable as fuck. He's never been knocked out. So I love Grant. I think he's a good striker. I think he is a great fighter. I think he is in a bad situation here. He also took a ton of damage his last fight. I don't think he's ever been knocked out. He has not. So that is good going for him. However, at some point with this age and fighting and in a battle, his last fight, there's some wear and tear, and it unfortunately could put him out soon. So pick is Yanez. The bet, he's probably going to lead all of my parlays. I like Yanez a lot here. All right. Then the next fight, we have Tyler Santos at minus 340 going up against Joanne Wood. She got married. Funny enough, her name was Calderwood. Her new married name is just Wood. So she just had to drop stuff instead of changing stuff. Plus 250, over 2.5 minus 320, under 2.5 plus 250. This fight sucks because I don't know how to bet it. Common sense tells you Tyler Santos wins this fight, and she wins it easily. This girl, she's 18-1. Her only loss was her debut in the UFC, and she said that she was so nervous that she just couldn't fight. Like, she was too nervous and wasn't herself. And honestly, I believe her because it's showing. Yes, she lost to Mara Borella, but she lost a split to Mara Borella when she said she couldn't even move. She dominated Meatball Molly. She dominated Jillian Robertson on the ground, which is impressive. And she dominated Roxanne Minaferi. Her striking's okay. It's getting better and better. You see it. It's not bad. But she's a great wrestler, man. She is a good wrestler. She's very strong. She has a good ground game, but she's more position over submission. She is not going to get when she takes you down. She does not want you back up, so she's not going to just go fishing for subs. She's going to make sure she has good positioning and holds you down. Her cardio could get a little better. She does slow. She doesn't gas, but she slows a little. Her stand-up's a little stiff, but again, it's getting better and better. My concern is her fight IQ. Roxanne Minaferi last fight, she was killing on the feet, dominating. Roxanne couldn't even hit her, and she kept taking her down. And she won the fight like that, but I felt like she was playing with fire there. Like, if you're dominating someone on the feet, why do you take her down as she's throwing up subs on you? Like, it was very confusing to me. And to me, it feels like she is someone that does not adapt well. She has one set plan, and she wants to take you down, and she wants to hold you there. And that's what she's going to do. There is no plan B. She's not going to go, you know what, I'm killing you on the feet. Let's stay up. She came in, she trained one way, and she is going to try to win the fight that way. JoJo, not the greatest takedown defense, only like 63% or something like that. High value on the feet. I will say JoJo is definitely the better striker. She's new. Her submissions are a little shaky. Definitely fought the better people though. I mean, she has fought Jessica she fought Jennifer Maia. Both of them have fought for a world title. She's fought Caitlin Chukagian, who fought for a world title. She fought Cynthia Calvillo. She fought Jessica Andrade, former champion. I mean, Mariana Moreau is so good and no one cares. She fought Rose, current champion. I mean, she's fighting the best of the best here. So no problem with JoJo. She's a phenomenal striker, but she's a little old, man. She's 36 or she's 35. She turns 36 next month. God. Here's the thing. Santos, you beat JoJo by taking her down, and that's what Santos wants to do. JoJo knows this. She's not stupid. I guarantee you they have a game plan for it. If it's going to work or not, to be determined. Do I think the odds are off? Yeah, I think the odds are a little off. Do I think JoJo wins this fight? No, probably not. But if she has a good game plan, she might be able to pull off the upset. What I will tell you, fighters that are newly married last year don't lose. I watched it. It was oh god. I don't know why I'm blinking on the first person that was married. I looked it up. Oh my god, who was the first person that got married? I can't even think about it. But Billy Q was another one. Was a projected underdog against Gabriel Benitez. Just got married and won. These people that just got married keep coming in and winning for whatever reason. JoJo just got married. So for that, I might have a bet on her. Keep the trend going. Kind of like people that are retiring never win. people that just got married never lose. So, hey, pick is Santos without a question. Without a question, Santos should win this fight. Am I stupid enough to bet JoJo just because she got married? Yeah, I'm a little crazy. I might, but I can't recommend you do the same. I just think that Tyler Santos is a little fishy to put in a parlay considering her strength of schedule. So I would definitely pick her. Otherwise, I'd probably just pick the fight to go to decision and eat the chalk. It's minus 320, but you can throw that in a parlay and you'll be just fine because JoJo's pillow fisted. She's not knocking her out. Tyler Santos could submit JoJo, but is really position over submission. She prefers to just hold. So I like the over a lot, over 2.5. Speaking of overs, we have Ronnie Yaya at minus 115 going up against Kung Ho Kang at minus 115, straight pick 'em. Over 2.5 minus 135, under 2.5 plus 105. We'll start with Ronnie. Ronnie's not terrible, but Ronnie's old, man. Ronnie has great submissions, but Ronnie's old, man. Ronnie not the greatest striking because Ronnie's old, man. How old is Ronnie? 36 years old. I thought he was older, but he's just not. He's never had good striking. He's never had good cardio because he's old, man, and he's never been anything but a submission threat, but his wrestling isn't terrible, so he can get it there. And if you go to the ground with Ronnie, you're in some trouble. I mean, look at his wins. It's by arm triangle, by heel hook, by arm triangle, by Kimura, by decision, arm triangle, decision, Kimura. I don't think he's ever won outside of decisions and submissions. That's how he's going to beat you. North-south choke. He has a variety. Guillotine. At least he's not taking you down and just giving you a rear naked. He'll throw a little variety in there for you, arm triangles and north-south chokes and heel hooks. It's creative. But no, he's never won by knockout. It's always by taking you down and literally just ground and pounding and holding you down, or by tapping you out. And the thing with Kang is he has been submitted before, but it was in like 2011. It was so long ago. Let me take a quick peek just to remember. I want to say it was over 10 years ago. The last time he got tapped out, April of 2011. So it's been more than 10 years. That's the only time he's ever been tapped out. So he's not the greatest. He's not the most exciting. He's kind of boring in all honesty, but it's one of those borings that get the job done. His striking is not good, but it is better than Yaya's. He does have a 5-inch reach advantage, which is huge here, with two people that aren't the greatest strikers. He is coming off a 2-year layoff. I don't like that much. And he does slow down too, but he slows and Ronnie gasses, and that's a big difference. He also has gone to 1,000,001 decisions. So well, I would probably bet with it being a pick 'em. The pick is going to be Kang just because I think he's good enough to not get tapped out. The wrestling is even and the striking is clearly in his favor. So the pick is going to be Kang. The bet would probably just be the over 2.5 because he's not going to tap out. Yeah. So at that juncture, you're looking at him to get a knockout, and he doesn't exactly have a ton of those on his record. I don't know if he has any knockouts on his record. He does not. So two people that have never gotten a knockout, two people that are great on the ground, and two people that slow. Just go ahead and give me that over. And the over at minus 135. Those are great odds for that. That already puts us at our co-main event of the evening. And again, the last fight with King and Yaya, whoever's the better wrestler is going to dictate where the fight stays, and it's important there. Here's another one. Wrestling wins fights, and this is all that's going to win this fight. We have Sean Brady, minus 165, comeback on Michael Chiesa, plus 130, over 2.5, minus 105, under 2.5, minus 125. Let's start with the kid, Sean Brady, 14-0, baby. He's good. He's really good. He is a mean squeeze, man. This dude grabs a hold of your neck, you're fucked. This dude, great jiu-jitsu. Good wrestling, ton of power. Not the greatest and most technical striking. It's okay. You see it ever improving. But a ton of power to go with it. When he hits you, you feel it. He doesn't prefer to go forward. He likes you to kind of come forward and counter with the power. So That's a thing. He can be backed up a little trying to counter, but for the most part, he's just looking to pick his shots. And he does so effectively. He has pretty good volume. He does have 100% takedown defense as well, but you do have to look at who he was fighting. Jake Matthews is a decent wrestler, but he was just a better wrestler. Christian Aguilera, not the greatest wrestler in the world. He's a bit on short notice. Ismael, not the greatest wrestler in the world. Court McGee can kind of wrestle, but that's not his go-to. And then we're going into the regional scene. So, yeah, it's kind of easy to have 100% takedown defense when you're not fighting wrestlers, but hey, he's not doing anything wrong. I'll give him that. He's good, man. I think he needed a good push. Kevin Lee, who he was supposed to fight originally, I thought was perfect, but Kevin Lee pulled out. And then I think Brady pulled out of one when they rebooked it. So now he gets Chiesa, which is a step up from Kevin Lee. It's a test. This is a test. I think Brady has all the tools to win. It just really comes down to who's the better wrestler, because Chiesa can wrestle himself. And we've seen this before. We saw Chiesa fight Neil Magny. Neil Magny has phenomenal wrestling. We said, oh shit, Neil can strike and wrestle. Chiesa's in some trouble because Chiesa cannot strike. I don't care. He cannot. All he does is lunge forward and blitz you with strikes he doesn't intend on knocking you out with. He just throws them out there so that he can close distance, pressure, and take you down where he wants to. The dude is massive at 170. He has a 3-inch reach advantage. He is a little shaky with the durability. I'll be honest there. When you look at his wins and his losses, all of his losses are basically by sub, even though he's a phenomenal jiu-jitsu black belt. The problem is he got hurt in the Luque fight and then he got tapped. He got rocked in the Pettis fight, got tapped. He got rocked by Kevin Lee and then got tapped. Joe Lozon was a cut. Then Jorge Masvidal pieced him up and then got the tap. So it's not that he's just going out here and getting choked out. It's that you can rock this guy, and when he doesn't know where he is, then you can choke him out. So Brady hits hard, but the way Chiesa fights, it's just like a weird blitz. Like Brady has to catch him perfectly, and striking is not Brady's go-to. So it's going to be very, very interesting here. And if Chiesa can't take him down, again, Brady has 100% takedown defense currently. If Chiesa can't take him down, he's fucked. So it comes down to the wrestling. Chiesa has low volume. God, I don't know. I don't know what to do here. The pick is going to be, I'd say their wrestling cancels out. Their jiu-jitsu cancels out. Brady has the striking edge. So the pick will be Brady. The bet, Chiesa plus 130. If he gets the takedown, Brady's not someone that's going to tap you out from his back. He has a ton of squeezes. He's going to tap you out with the darts. He's going to tap you out with the guillotine. I don't think he's throwing up a triangle. I mean, he can. Don't get me wrong. He definitely can, but that's not where he's scary. So the pick is going to be Brady, but if it's a 50-50 fight, I got to take the dog. So I'll actually bet Chiesa. And I might end up putting money on Michael Chiesa. He's fought the better guys. He might be the better wrestler. It's very close. And he's got his boy Terrence McKinney fighting earlier, so he's got to show out with the wrestling. So, yeah, he's definitely going to wrestle. We knew that no matter what. Pick is going to be Brady, bet Chiesa. And that takes us to the main event of the evening. We have Caitlin Vieira minus 125, Miesha Tate minus 105. Over other side at minus 4.5. Over 4.5 minus 162. Under 4.5 plus 132. I'll be honest here. Caitlin Vieira, her striking is okay. Her wrestling's pretty good. It's very good. She's positioned over submission. She's not trying to just tap you out, even though she can. She wants to hold you down, just like Chiesa earlier. More like Tyler Santos. Where she's not even looking for subs, really. She just wants to hold you down. She is a little hittable, so that's not the greatest. Doesn't really move her head. But her jiu-jitsu is decent, man. I think Caitlin Vieira is the better striker than Miesha Tate. I think she's the better wrestler than Miesha Tate. I think she's the better jiu-jitsu practitioner than Miesha Tate. And I think Miesha Tate wins the fight. And let me tell you why. As much as I want to talk about how Vieira is better at every aspect of the fight game, I do have to let you know that she slows. Her cardio is very, very questionable. going to go up against Yana, she gassed. Like, even in some of these wins against Sarjubik, she did not look the same in round 3. This is a 5-round fight. If you're gassing in round 3, I don't know what you're going to look like in round 4, and I'm petrified of what you look like in round 5. Miesha Tate is a former world champion who won a championship against Holly Holm via choke in round 5. This has the same thing written all over it. Miesha Tate was getting absolutely murdered in that fight. Holly Holm got tired, got taken down, and got choked out. I could definitely see that happening to Ketlin Vieira. I know that I think Tate's striking's a little overrated. It's not good. I know everyone's talking about how much better it looked against Marion Renault. I think it was more or less the opponent she was fighting, in all honesty. Tate does like to go forward. I don't know if she can go forward in this fight. She is a little hittable as well. She only has a 50% takedown defense. I'm telling you right now, Tate's going to be a big dog coming out of that first round. Ketlin Vieira is going to win the first round. Ketlin Vieira is probably going to win the second. And then I don't know if she wins another round because she will gas. She has missed weight before, so you have to watch her on the scales as well. However, I am live betting Miesha Tate. If Ketlin Vieira wins round 1 and I see an astronomical number, I am hammering it because Vieira will gas. Tate has championship level pedigree. She is a former champ. She's fought 5 rounds, a plethora of times. This girl is not the greatest fighter, but she is durable and she is gritty and gutsy, and she will take you out at the end, and she is going to eat Ketlin Vieira's lunch after round 2. So the pick is gonna be sweaty. Don't get me wrong. Vieira's gonna come out and look like a stud. She's gonna look like an absolute animal round 1 and 2. But the pick is gonna be Tate. The bet is gonna be Tate because she's a junkyard dog and she's gonna get the job done at the end when she has to. So that is UFC Vegas 42. It's lining up to be a phenomenal card, in all honesty. You look at the main event, you don't think it's the greatest, but you look at the talent here. The talent's real. A lot of names that not everyone knows, but the talent is real. So go ahead, grab yourself a beer. Go ahead, grab yourself a singlet like the rest of them that need it. And go ahead and grab yourself some money, baby. Let's get it.